Hey guys, it's Spooky here from ArmoredTalk.com, your website dedicated to armored warfare news and information. The video is a little bit different format in that we have actually 3 gameplay videos of the Leopard 1 stitched together. I wanted to do it this way simply because I think the 3 different games show the different styles of play you can do in armored warfare, especially with the Leopard 1. I'm sure you can already tell that this first game shows the Leopard 1's ability to shoot from a distance. We fortunately have a scout that's lighting up the enemy team. As you can tell that the Leopard has a pretty fast reload speed and pretty decent accuracy. I almost felt guilty being in a shooting gallery. But this game turns out to be interesting, not only because it was a good game. I think I ended up with over 4,000 damage and 5 or 6 kills. But it's interesting in that I actually come close to running out of ammunition. Some of that might be from missing a lot as well, since I'm firing from so long of a distance, or more than likely I'm taking some blind shots at locations where tanks used to be, just in case they didn't move after they went dark. But I started off firing AP, and at one point in time during the game, I notice I'm out of AP and I'm firing HE. The shell velocity changes quite a bit there, so I have a little bit hard time leading a target at that moment. If you're not familiar with it or just forgot, the Leopard 1 is a Tier 4 main battle tank in Armored Warfare. You can find it underneath the blue Wolfley dealership. The tanks there tend to be the more versatile, whereas the yellow dealer has a model of might makes right or something similar, so you have a lot of the harder hitting, more armored vehicles. In real life, the Leopard 1 became the backbone of the European forces during the late 1960s and throughout the 1970s. In Armored Warfare, I think it plays pretty well rounded, has an accurate gun, pretty good mobility for a main battle tank, and the gun handling is pretty decent. You can obviously tell in this video that it fires rapidly. One of the downsides of it is I'm not sure the armor, at least in World of Warfare, is all that great. I know some people have claimed that the armor of the main battle tanks in the lower tiers seem like Swiss cheese and that most vehicles can penetrate it. I think you need to remember that main battle tank in Armored Warfare does not equate with heavy tank in World of Tanks. Even in real life, main battle tanks are not considered to be heavy tanks necessarily. I wouldn't really be relying on their armor or trying to side scrape a whole bunch and think that's going to protect you. I think you can get away with some side scraping at a very shallow angle, but it's not nearly as effective as it is in World of Tanks. I think really more often than not, your tracks are just eating the shell. Having said that, I do think that the armor of the Leopard 1 is not nearly as good as, at least in my experience, as the armor is in the Russian T-64, which is currently the other main battle tank at Tier 4 that comes from the yellow dealership. Or I should say yellow dealer. These are arms merchants, not used car lots. But while we watch me miss some more shots, but occasionally hit and take out a couple of tanks, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on so far in the early access test 2 stage of Armored Warfare. If you're not familiar with the times, go ahead and check out the blog armoredtalk.com if you have access to play. One of the nice things that Obsidian did was this last weekend opened up gameplay for the entire weekend. So instead of just the announced hours, which I think were 5 or 6 hours per day on each server, both North America and the European server, they opened it up for 24 hours a day testing for the entire weekend. This worked out pretty well. I think a lot of players had a good time, and there were some issues on the NA server Sunday night, but other than that, I think everything technologically wise was smooth sailing. They did encounter some issues with players finally reaching the higher tiered vehicles, and that caused matchmaking difficulties. When you only have a handful of players at tier 6 and 7 and they're waiting for a battle queue, the longer they wait, the more likely it is that Matchmaker is going to go ahead and throw them down with lower tiered tanks. This is talked about a lot on the forums and caused a pretty humorous video to be made, which we have a link on the blog if you're interested in checking it out. The good news is this is the Tuesday of early access test, and the European servers already have a fix such that players are seeing more of their same tier during battles. That should be applied to the North American test tonight. And hopefully whatever the fix is will also help them in the future. You know, right now we have the troubles of a lot of players reaching the higher tier levels, but not enough players to form higher tier battles. So that's why they're seeping down into the lower tiers. Well, eventually, because there's not going to be any wipes during early access, at least if Obsidian can help it. You know, if they run into troubles, of course they're going to have to do a wipe. But they're planning on not having any wipes during early access phase. So this could actually lead to the opposite problem of newer players just joining testing, playing lower tiers, not having enough players at the lower tiers to form good lower tier battles. But hopefully the changes they're doing will take care of that too. This is actually something pretty neat. I didn't realize this at first when I was playing the game, but as I missed this tank, I was knocking off the caps of the oil refinery, and the escaping fuel or gas was catching fire, creating these twin jets. I think that was a pretty neat effect. You know, here I ended up thinking I was worth taking the risk of trying to save this tank by taking a risky shot. Rothbarden, sorry about that. Didn't mean to kill you. I guess you did kind of drive right into where I was shooting. I suppose I probably should have held my shot, though. You know, this happens in games all the time, and unfortunately it happens in real life too, where friendly fire causes death or injury. To his credit, my teammate didn't chastise me for taking that shot. I'm sure he realized I was just trying to help and trying to win the game. Too often I think players get tied up and think that something like that was done on purpose, and it wasn't. Everybody's just trying to have fun and win. Yeah, at this point in time of the game, it's still a very close battle, and I do believe that I am very close to no longer being able to fire my gun. I have 7 HE rounds left. I really don't want to try to ram any tank to win the game or try to take anybody out. Sorry for the crash there. I was trying to type in the battle chat that I didn't mean to kill a friendly unit. You know, at this point in time, we're actually tied up. The T-62 at our base is AFK. I think some players in the testing period of Armored Warfare are getting a little upset at the AFK players. I have not noticed that many. With there still being issues in the game client that they're working on, I think it's something we're going to see going forward. I don't think it's anybody purposely loading into battle and then just not doing anything or walking away from the computers. Chances are they had a client freeze or a crash. You know, looking at the game now, this can still go either way. The other team, I'm sure, is feeling like they are at a disadvantage. And maybe they are. They're pretty low health, and they're seeing that there's only 2 of them left. I'm not sure if they realize that one of our guys is not participating or not, but we're fully aware of it. My partner's low health, and I'm low on ammo, so we're going to go ahead and play this cautiously. Yeah, at this point in time, I start texting with the lav that's left on my team, and we try to work together. Really need to stick close. I know that I have a lot of hit points left I'm going to need to utilize to potentially win the game. I think he is fairly low health, but with only 6 shots left of HE, I'm not feeling super confident at this time. Lav is suggesting to take out the M60 first, which is fine. He's slower and lower health. I have no problems with that if that's the target that presents itself. I was actually trying to find a position that we could take up so that the AFK tank could provide the spots for us, so we could stay behind soft cover or hard cover and be able to use him as a early warning system. But the Lav player, who's currently my last remaining active teammate, does a really good job of finding where the enemy's coming from. And fortunately, not due to any superior skill, I'm able to just pop over and kill that tank. I suppose sticking together was what allowed that to happen, but that was also some pretty lucky timing. Now it's just a matter of using some of my limited ammo to be able to hit the last remaining tank, who should be a one-shot for me. You'll see that I'm having a little bit of troubles leading my target. I just haven't adjusted from the faster AP rounds to the slower HE. Fortunately, he has little difficulties running into the bridge there, and I'm able to get a shot at him when he's slower. So the end results are pretty good. 122,000 silver, and took top place on the team with 6 kills and over 4,200 damage, mostly from sniping. You know, the Leopard's easily capable of doing that with the fast firing, accurate gun, but that's not all it can do. Here we're going to go ahead and take a look at a gameplay rolling through town. I actually almost all the time on this map end up coming... Oh, hello, we have a customer here. I'm not used to running people this early quite at that spot yet. That's a Lav 150. He doesn't last too long. I don't know if he was just deciding that he didn't want to participate in this battle or what the deal was, but I guess he decided to live only once and YOLO in. As I was saying, on this particular map, most of the time I do come down to the D or E line between 4 and 6 area, at least to start with, to see where the enemy team is, and then go from there to decide which way I want to flow. Sometimes I go down the 4 line, other times I head over down to G and then try to flank over to the 5-6. It just really depends on how the enemy team deploys, how my teammates are forming up. You know, being top tier in this tank, I may be a little bit overconfident in this game. That's why I'm just driving right down the middle of the road. That's part of the reason why I chose this gameplay. Is it is a lot different than the first one. You know, in the first match, we really decided to let our scouts light up the enemy team and just have some target practice. Here, though, we're not going to sit back and try to fire from a distance. We're actually going to work ourselves through the city, going around city blocks, hoping to encounter the enemy. The Leopard way, I think, is staying true to the blue dealership, which is using your versatility. You can sit back and snipe, or you can go ahead and patrol a city, finding targets and taking out the enemy. I don't do as well here as what I should have. I needed to keep my front end towards the 10p. The problem is that without the option to reverse how my A and D key works, like I have it in World of Tanks, I'm still having troubles backing up the way I want to back up. It's just when your keys are reversed from what you're used to, it takes a while to acclimate. Probably as soon as they get it changed, I'll probably be really confused because I'm going to change it back, and I'll have another 100 battles or so getting used to it, but we'll see how it goes. It was nice I was able to flank that Patton while he was busy fighting my teammates. I really do suggest that you not attempt to use your main battle tank as a heavy tank. It's something that side scraping is not really going to work, and you do have your hit points to trade off in firefights, but if you can flank when you can, form a line, come around buildings, especially in the city, that's going to serve you a whole lot better than just popping out and trading shots with the enemy. All you're going to do there is eliminate both tanks and not have accomplished as much as what you could have if you were conserving your hit points a little bit better by flanking or surprising the enemy of where you're popping out and shooting them from. But you can see the advantages of the Leopard here. I should say the advantages, the capabilities of the Leopard here, in that it has no problem maneuvering around the city, popping out, shooting tanks, has the accuracy to fire fast. It has enough alpha damage to do severely hurt lower tier players or give higher tier players even a pause. You know, I don't see the Leopard 1 being talked about a lot in the forums or a lot of people playing it. I know some Leopard fans are a bit disappointed it's not more powerful than what it is, but it's a fun tank to play. I think I prefer it over the T-64, at least during these testing stages. You know, any tank that we're looking at right now can easily change quite a bit. Obsidian Entertainment will be nerfing or buffing tanks as needed as part of what these tests are for. They want to test balancing of the tiers, the tank's capabilities, matchmaking, all that stuff. So any sort of reviews or mini reviews right now have to be taken with a large grain of salt 6 months from now, or however long it is when open beta test starts. But we will, like a lot of people, be updating our reviews and having more gameplay for the production level tanks once the game is released. But at this point in time, this game's pretty well in hand. We're up by 4 tanks, and it's mainly just cleanup duties right now. You'll notice I drive in sniper view quite a bit, and simply because I think it helps me get shots quicker on enemies by letting the aiming circle come in. But there's also a little bit of a downside to doing that. You know, bridges are OP, just like light poles are. You know, in all seriousness, I like the terrain of Armored Warfare. I think it adds a lot to the gameplay when there are different levels to play from, and the graphics make it seem a little bit more realistic than some other games. You know, I was talking earlier about being up by so many tanks, and that seems to be the battles in hand. In Armored Warfare, you really have to be careful about that, because you don't have a hit point bar. You don't know how much health those enemy tanks have. And the game flow can change so quickly in Armored Warfare that you don't want to get too overconfident just because you have a tank lead. And to clarify, by hit point bar, I mean a team health pool bar. One of the mods, or a lot of the mods in World of Tanks, puts a health meter bar for the entire team underneath the score above. And a lot of people use that to gauge if they're ahead or behind in a game. So this particular one, Rolling Through the City, was also a pretty good game. Another 120,000 credits. I think probably pretty close to 4,200 damage as well, if I remember correctly. Yep, and not quite, but 5 kills as well. So the Leopard works quite well in both sniping mode and just rolling through a town, coming around corners, trying to flank the enemies. It also works to be the vanguard or spearhead of battle as well. You know, you can see here I was behind the scouts. I'm kind of in front of the scouts now. A lot of my team is back at BC8 area, just getting into position. Leopard speed allowed me to get up here a little bit sooner. Popping in and out and shooting at the enemy is going to allow me to get some damage, but really what I'm also doing is helping my team get into position behind me, lighting up the enemy targets so that they have something to shoot at, and really slowing the enemy team's advance. So the Leopard can, if it need be that tank that is out front, encouraging the rest of the team to move forward. You know, had my teammates not moved up, this would not have worked out so well. But they're able to see that the coast is clear, that the enemy is reacting to the positions that the scouts and myself are in. Yeah, because I really think that on this particular map, the red team has a much better chance of deploying further up than what they did. It seems like a lot of teams pause where they do, which allows the blue team to do what we're currently doing, which is advance further and faster than they can handle. You know, it depends on what tank I'm driving, but a lot of times I will try to be the first person across the 5 line no matter which side I'm coming from, simply because you're taking the initiative away from the enemy. Sometimes it works to keep the momentum and your team's behind you and you roll through like we are going to hopefully do in this game, if I remember correctly. Other times it doesn't work out too well. If the enemy team is doing the same and they outnumber you, you may find yourself dying rather rapidly. So something that you can try. You don't want to be silly about it and just go roaring around corners, but at the same time it does offer you a little bit different gameplay element than some of the other tactics you can use. I find in World of Tanks and now in Armored Warfare I enjoy trying different things on different maps. And I think I will in Armored Warfare also enjoy driving all the different classes that are available. They just offer a unique gameplay. I'm sure you've noticed by now I am not a pro-level purple player from World of Tanks. I am an average tanker, but I think the videos I'm going to do are for the average tankers. I think more of us out there are average tankers, not necessarily the purple level players or the new people. You know, everybody starts out somewhere and there's a learning curve to these games. And I may have actually taken longer than my fair share to get used to this style of gameplay when I was playing World of Tanks. I think it probably took me a good 4,000, 5,000 battles before I started doing more damage to the health pool of my tank, etc. I think of my overall stats, you can feel free to look them up if you're interested on B-Spooky and World of Tanks. I think overall I'm a green level player. I think my recent is probably in the teals, but that waxes and wanes just like anybody else depending on what mood I'm in, how often I've played, what tournaments I'm doing, etc., etc. Well, this has actually been a pretty quick battle. I know that it's not over with yet, but I think it's pretty safe to say, leading 9 kills to 2 kills, that we have this one well in hand. I know I said earlier in the video you can't necessarily count on that in Armored Warfare, and I have seen these type of numbers get turned around and the other team wins. But this one I know the outcome of because I'm watching this along with you after the fact. I thought that these 3 videos show that the Leopard 1, which is a tank that people don't seem to be playing or talking about a lot, can do a lot in Armored Warfare. I think it may see some balance changes going into the future, but I don't think it's going to be anything that's going to cause it to play drastically different. I think the tier 3 and 4 main battle tanks play similarly in that they can serve any role in the battlefield that you need them to be. They can sit back and snipe like we did in the first game match. They can go ahead and work themselves through a city, flanking or encountering tanks head on and fighting in an urban environment. Or like in this gameplay, they can go ahead and spearhead an attack on the opposing team. Which I know in this particular game, I probably actually didn't play all that well looking at it with you here now. I've been missing a lot of shots, probably could have been a little more aggressive in some areas, probably shouldn't have gone around a couple corners that I did. But it goes to show you that I think I did have an impact on the game, not necessarily by the amount of damage that I did, but just by help leading my team to advance further and faster than what they may have been counting on. So that's it for this game. I hope you enjoyed this video. As usual, if you liked the video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up below. Feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on armoredtalk.com. And thanks for watching. I hope you have a good day.